Look up at the night sky. Choose any star you can see. The light reaching your eyes tonight did not begin its journey recently. It left its source years ago, decades ago, sometimes millions of years ago, before your grandparents were born, before their grandparents, before anyone alive today took their first breath. You are not simply looking into space. You are looking into history, living, traveling, arriving history. We instinctively feel that the past is gone, finished, sealed off somewhere behind us, but that instinct is wrong. The universe does not work the way our gut tells us it does. Human beings have always sensed something strange about time. The ancient Greeks used two words, chronos, measurable ticking time, and kairos, the kind of time that feels meaningful and weighty. Even they understood that the past does not feel completely gone. It feels close. For centuries, thinkers wrestled with this. Isaac Newton imagined time as a river flowing in one direction, past behind us, future ahead. That seemed obvious, final. Then Albert Einstein changed everything. He proposed something radical. What if time is not flowing at all? What if past, present, and future are not disappearing moments, but fixed locations in a larger structure called spacetime? And this idea is often called the block universe. Imagine all of time laid out at once like a completed map. Just as New York still exists when you are standing in Los Angeles, yesterday still exists, even though you are experiencing today. It is not erased. It is simply located elsewhere in space-time. Now consider light. Light travels at about 300,000 kilometers per second, the fastest speed possible in the universe. Nothing can move faster. When you look at the nearest star beyond our sun, Proxima Centauri, you are seeing it as it was more than 4 years ago. The Andromeda galaxy appears to us as it was about 2.5 million years in the past. The light entering your eyes tonight began its journey long before human civilization existed. There is no way to see anything as it is now because information itself travels with delay. The universe is built so that every observation is an observation of the past. This delay is not a flaw in our instruments. It is woven into reality. There is no universal present moment shared by everything. What feels like now is local and limited. The present your brain experiences is already a constructed window of recent input stitched together into a continuous story. Even if you rejected the block universe idea, there is something undeniable. The past leaves structure. Every moment causes the next. The atoms in your body were forged in ancient stars that exploded before our solar system existed. Every choice you make is shaped by prior events, stretching back through your parents, their parents, and ultimately to the earliest moments of the universe. Physics tells us that information is not simply destroyed. In quantum theory, the evolution of the universe preserves information at its most fundamental level. The past is encoded in the present state of things. Now consider something deeper. If past events remain embedded in space-time, encoded in light and structure, then every moment of your life becomes permanent. Every conversation, every act of kindness, every mistake, every sunrise you witnessed, they are not erased. They become fixed coordinates in the architecture of reality. In 1990, the Voyager 1 spacecraft turned its camera back toward Earth from billions of kilometers away and captured the famous image known as the pale blue dot. Our planet appeared as a tiny speck of light suspended in a sunbeam. That image is still traveling outward at the speed of light, when it is now dozens of light years away. Any civilization positioned that distance from us with sufficient technology would be receiving that light now, seeing Earth as it was decades ago. The same is true for you. The photons that reflected off your face years ago are still traveling outward into space. The light from your childhood home is moving through the galaxy. You are not only a memory in human minds, you are a signal still propagating through the cosmos. And yet in the vast observable universe, about 93 billion light years across, containing trillions of galaxies, the odds of you existing at all are staggeringly small. Every ancestor in your lineage survived long enough to reproduce. Go back 10 generations and you already depend on over 1,000 individuals. Extend that chain back millions and then billions of years to the first simple life forms on Earth. One uninterrupted sequence. If any link had failed, you would not be here. The universe spent most of its 13.8 billion year history without observers. For billions of years, there were only particles, gas, stars, galaxies, no eyes to see them. Then on a small planet orbiting an ordinary star, matter arranges itself so living systems capable of reflection. Through you, the universe gained the ability to examine itself. Every second you live becomes part of the permanent record of space-time. The light scattering from you right now is beginning a journey that may last billions of years. In some distant region of space, far in the future, that light will still be carrying evidence that you existed. The past is not erased. It is not falling into nothingness. It remains embedded in the fabric of reality. The earlier versions of you are not annihilated by the present. They are fixed in their coordinates within space-time. You are not a fleeting accident slipping into oblivion. You are part of the universe's enduring structure. Every moment you experience becomes a permanent feature of what has existed. The past is not behind you in the way you imagine. It is woven into the same cosmic fabric that holds stars, galaxies, and the vast dark between them. That is not merely poetic language. It is what modern physics suggests about the nature of time, light, and existence itself. If this is true, if time does not flow the way it feels, if the past is not erased but located, if every photon carries a record and every event leaves a structural imprint, then the question becomes unavoidable. What exactly are you? You feel like a moving point traveling from yesterday into tomorrow. You feel like a thin slice of awareness sliding across a timeline. But that sensation may be the illusion. In the block description of space-time, you are not a moving slice. You are the entire structure. Every age you have ever been exists as part of a four-dimensional whole. The child learning to speak, the teenager discovering fear and ambition, the adult navigating uncertainty, the older version you have not yet met. All of them are coordinates in the same space-time shape. They are not vanishing as new moments appear. They are all equally real within the structure. Think carefully about what that means. When you remember being 10 years old, you are not summoning something that has ceased to exist. You are accessing a region of the block that is still there. Memory is not creating the past. It is connecting to it. The reason memory feels vivid is because the neural structure encoding it was shaped by that earlier coordinate. The earlier event is not destroyed. It is simply not located at your current coordinate. We talk about growing older as if we are shedding previous selves. But in space-time, nothing is shed, nothing is replaced. The earlier you remains as real as the present you, just as the city you left behind still occupies its place on Earth, even after you travel elsewhere. The sensation of loss, of time slipping away, may be a feature of consciousness moving along a fixed structure rather than the structure dissolving behind it. This reframes regret. If a painful moment becomes permanent, that can sound terrifying, but permanence does not mean dominance. A coordinate does not override the rest of the structure. A single storm does not define the entire planet. Every joyful moment is equally permanent. Every act of courage, every quiet morning, every shared laugh. They are not fragile sparks that vanish. They are etched into the architecture of reality with the same durability as anything else that has ever occurred. Consider causality more deeply. The present is shaped entirely by the past, but it also shapes what comes after. You stand at a coordinate that connects backward and forward in an unbroken chain. Every decision you make writes constraints into the next slice of space-time. In classical physics, this chain is strict. In quantum physics, it is probabilistic, but still governed by mathematical evolution that preserves the underlying information. The universe does not discard what happens, it transforms it. Entropy complicates the picture. We know that disorder increases over time. We see cups shatter, but never spontaneously reassemble. We remember yesterday, but not tomorrow. This asymmetry gives time its arrow, yet the fundamental laws governing particles do not prefer a direction. The equations work forward and backward. The arrow of time emerges from boundary conditions, from the fact that the early universe was in a state of extraordinarily low entropy. From that special beginning, complexity unfolded, stars formed, galaxies assembled, life emerged, consciousness arose. The arrow of time is a feature of how the block is structured, not proof that the block is dissolving as it extends. There is something profound here. If the early universe had slightly different initial conditions, the entire block would differ. You would not appear in it. The existence of your coordinate depends on the precise arrangement of conditions stretching back to the Big Bang. A tiny fluctuation amplified across billions of years leads to the present configuration of matter that includes your body and brain. That configuration is not random chaos. It is structured by lawful evolution from initial simplicity to present complexity. When you feel small in the face of cosmic scale, remember that scale alone does not determine significance. A single equation can describe the motion of galaxies. A single mutation can alter the course of a species. A single decision can ripple through generations. In a deterministic or unitary universe, those ripples are not metaphors. They are literal constraints embedded in the unfolding geometry. The light leaving Earth right now carries information about our civilization. Radio waves from the early 20th century have already traveled more than 100 light years outward. They form an expanding sphere of signals announcing our technological presence. Long after individual lives end, those waves continue outward. They weaken with distance, but they remain part of the electromagnetic structure of the cosmos. Even if no one ever intercepts them, their existence matters. They are part of the universal record. They modify the electromagnetic field at every point they pass. The universe does not require an audience to retain events. Retention is built into its evolution. This perspective reshapes mortality. We fear death because we imagine annihilation, a falling into nothing. But if the block universe is accurate, death is not erasure of what has been. It is the termination of additional coordinates along a world line. The world line itself remains. Every moment that constituted a life is fixed within space-time. The early segments do not disappear when the later ones conclude. That does not eliminate grief. Grief is real because interaction ends at certain coordinates. We cannot communicate across arbitrary regions of space-time. Our consciousness is constrained locally. But the existence of earlier moments is not undone by our inability to revisit them physically. Some physicists resist eternalism, preferring interpretations where only the present is real. Others explore growing block theories in which the past and present exist, but the future does not yet. These debates continue. Yet even in models where time genuinely unfolds, the physical remnants of past events remain encoded in fields, particles, radiation. There is no version of modern physics in which events simply vanish without consequence. Now consider consciousness again. Your awareness seems to move. You anticipate the future. You recall the past. You feel embedded in a flow. And this sensation likely arises from the way neural processes integrate information across short temporal windows. The brain constructs continuity from discrete electrical and chemical events. It assembles identity from memory and prediction. The self may be less like a solid object and more like a pattern sustained across coordinates. Patterns can persist even as the substrate changes. A whirlpool in a river maintains form while water molecules flow through it. Likewise, your identity may be a stable pattern in space-time rather than a static chunk of matter. The atoms in your body are replaced over years. The pattern endures. In space-time terms, that pattern is your world line. It stretches from birth to death, weaving through environments, interacting with other world lines. Relationships are intersections of these lines. Conversations are shared coordinates. Love is not an abstract feeling floating nowhere. It is a pattern of correlated brain states across interacting systems, fixed at specific coordinates in the block. Nothing about this diminishes the emotional weight of experience. If anything, it deepens it. Every moment matters, not because it is fleeting, but because it is permanent. A harsh word spoken in anger becomes a fixed feature of the structure. So does forgiveness. So does generosity. There's no cosmic undo button that wipes a coordinate from existence. This permanence should not paralyze you. It should clarify you. Since every action becomes part of the architecture, the question is what architecture you wish to help build. You are not outside the universe observing it. You are a process within it, shaping its geometry. Think again about scale. Trillions of galaxies, hundreds of billions of stars in each, vast voids between clusters, yet complexity is not uniformly distributed. It concentrates. On at least one planet, chemistry crossed a threshold into biology. Biology crossed a threshold into cognition. Cognition crossed a threshold into reflective self-awareness. The cosmos produced regions capable of modeling the cosmos. You are one such region. When you contemplate the age of stars, neural networks in your brain are encoding that information. Those neural states correspond to electromagnetic patterns. Those patterns radiate minutely outward. Even the act of thinking leaves a physical trace. We often ask whether the universe cares about us. Care implies intention, preference, emotion. The universe as a whole may not possess these attributes, but it does contain systems that do. You care. Other conscious beings care. Caring is a physical phenomenon instantiated in neural processes. It is as real as gravity, though emergent rather than fundamental. Meaning then is not injected from outside the cosmos, it arises within it. When conscious agents assign value, that valuation is a physical process embedded in space-time. Meaning is local, but real. It is not an illusion any more than temperature is an illusion simply because it emerges from molecular motion. There is a temptation to reduce everything to cold mechanics. To say that if the block universe is true, then nothing matters because everything is fixed. But fixed does not imply insignificant. A finished novel is fixed in its text, yet its narrative carries emotional power. The fixed structure is what allows coherence. Similarly, if the future is part of the block, your choices are still part of what determines its content. From within your coordinate, deliberation is a causal process. The sense of agency may itself be embedded in the structure as one of its features. Determinism does not negate experience. It describes how experiences relate across coordinates. Quantum mechanics introduces indeterminacy at microscopic scales, but even there, the evolution of the wave function is governed by precise equations. Interpretations differ about what that means for free will and branching possibilities. Some propose many worlds in which all outcomes occur in different branches of a larger structure. In such models, your world line may branch into multiple futures. Yet each branch remains part of a broader mathematical object. Again, nothing simply vanishes. Return now to the night sky. Every star you see is a delayed message. Some of those stars may no longer exist in the form you observe. They may have collapsed into white dwarfs, neutron stars, black holes. Yet the light from their earlier states continues outward. The universe contains layers of history overlapping in transit. When you stand under that sky, you are immersed in intersecting shells of light from different eras. The photons entering your eyes left their sources at different times. You assemble them into a coherent visual field and call it the present sky. But what you are truly seeing is a collage of past states. Extend this insight inward. The atoms in your body are ancient. Hydrogen formed in the first minutes after the Big Bang. Heavier elements formed in stellar cores and supernova explosions. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the carbon in your cells were forged in stars that lived and died long before Earth formed. You are composed of recycled cosmic material arranged into a configuration that can ask about its origins. From a space-time perspective, the formation of those elements and your current thoughts are part of the same four-dimensional tapestry. There is no absolute separation between cosmic history and personal history. They are continuous segments of one structure. This continuity challenges the way we think about identity. You are not an isolated point floating in emptiness. You are a node in an immense network of causes and effects. Remove any prior link in that network and your node disappears. Yet because the network exists, so do you. Probability amplifies the wonder. The chain of reproduction leading to you spans billions of years. Each organism in that chain survives specific hazards. Slight variations in climate, geography, disease, or chance encounters could have broken it. The fact that it did not results in your coordinate. The improbability is not mystical, it is statistical, but statistics across cosmic timescales produce outcomes that feel miraculous. Miracle in this sense does not mean violation of physical law. It means an event with extraordinarily low prior probability given the immense combinatorial space of alternatives. Your existence fits that description. Not because physics bent for you, but because physics allowed a vast space of possibilities. And this is one realized path through it. If every realized event becomes permanent, then the improbability of your existence is matched by the permanence of its record. The universe contains within its structure the full history of how you came to be. It contains the chemical reactions in primordial oceans, the evolutionary transitions from single cells to multicellular organisms, the development of nervous systems, the emergence of language, culture, technology. It contains your first breath, your first memory, your current thoughts. Nothing about this guarantees comfort. The universe is vast and indifferent at fundamental scales. Stars explode without regard for life. Black holes consume matter without intention. Yet within this indifferent framework, pockets of care and awareness have emerged. That emergence is not outside the laws of physics. It is one of their consequences. And when you feel awe under the night sky, that feeling is the universe responding to itself through you. When you feel loneliness, that too is a pattern in space-time. When you choose kindness over cruelty, you alter the configuration of matter and energy in ways that propagate forward. The block includes those alterations. Clocks measure intervals along world lines, and they do not prove that time flows like a liquid. They mark differences between coordinates. You will never look at a clock the same way if you internalize this. Each tick is not time being consumed. It is your awareness advancing along a path that already exists within the larger structure. Some philosophers argue that this view undermines hope because the future is fixed. But from within your perspective, the future is epistemically open. You do not know its content. Your deliberations are among the mechanisms that constitute that content. The feeling of openness is part of how the block is experienced from inside. Imagine reading a novel for the first time. The ending is already printed, fixed in ink, yet as you move through the pages, the suspense is real. Your ignorance of the ending gives rise to anticipation and surprise. Your experience of the story unfolds even though the text is static. If space-time is analogous, then your life is not diminished by its fixed structure. It is animated by your traversal of it. There remains mystery. We do not possess a complete theory uniting general relativity with quantum mechanics. We do not fully understand consciousness. We debate the interpretation of time. But within our best current frameworks, the idea that the past is permanently embedded in the fabric of reality is not fantasy. It is a serious implication of our most tested physical theories. So when you look up tonight, understand what you are participating in. You are standing at a coordinate in a vast four-dimensional structure. Light from distant epochs intersects your retina. Neural processes interpret it. Thoughts arise. Those thoughts modify your brain's microstructure. Tiny electromagnetic disturbances radiate outward. The coordinate deepens. You are not separate from cosmic history. You are one of its current expressions. The universe did not simply happen and then produce you as an afterthought through lawful evolution across billions of years. It produced conditions in which matter can reflect on matter. Every moment you live adds detail to the grand tapestry, not because the tapestry is incomplete in some absolute sense, but because your world line includes those details as intrinsic segments. They are not annotations added from outside. They are threads woven through the same fabric that holds galaxies together. The past is not a graveyard of extinguished events. It is a landscape of existing coordinates. The future is not a void waiting to be created from nothing. It is a region of the structure toward which your awareness is oriented. The present is not a knife edge slicing reality into existence and non-existence. It is a feature of how conscious systems integrate information locally. You are a finite being in an immense cosmos, but finitude does not imply futility. A single coordinate can influence vast stretches of the structure through causal chains. Your existence, improbable and temporary in subjective experience, is permanent in space-time description. The universe, through you, knows that it has a history. Through you, it knows that stars are born and die, that galaxies collide, that time appears to flow. Through you, it contemplates its own laws. And whatever else is uncertain in physics or philosophy, this much is clear. You're not outside the cosmos observing it from nowhere. You are one of the ways it exists. Look up, not with fear of insignificance, but with recognition. The light that reaches you is ancient, and the awareness receiving it is the product of that same ancient process. You are both observer and participant, both fleeting in sensation and enduring in structure, both small in scale and immense in implication. The past is not lost, it is written. The present is not isolated, it is connected. The future is not empty, it is entangled with every choice you make. And you, improbable and luminous, are part of the permanent story the universe tells about itself. Now take this one step further and allow the full weight of it to settle in your mind, not as abstraction, not as poetic metaphor, but as structural reality. Because if space-time is a completed geometry, then what you call becoming is simply the progressive revelation of what already is, and that does not make your life smaller. It makes it immeasurably stranger and more profound than the simple story of birth moving toward extinction. You are not a candle burning down into darkness. You are a line drawn across the fabric of existence. And every point on that line is equally part of the whole, even if your awareness only illuminates one small segment at a time. Imagine standing above an enormous tapestry stretching beyond sight in every direction, woven with threads of energy, matter, radiation, memory, causality, each thread intersecting with countless others, forming patterns too intricate to fully comprehend from within. Now imagine that your entire life, from first heartbeat to last breath, is one continuous thread in that tapestry, not appearing then vanishing, but existing as a complete strand woven through the larger design. The infant, you, is not erased by the adult. You, the future elder, you, is not unreal simply because you have not reached that coordinate yet. All are segments of the same continuous structure. From within your perspective, there is uncertainty. You do not know what tomorrow contains, but ignorance of a coordinate does not imply its non-existence. It implies only that your current position has limited access to the rest of the structure, just as someone standing in one room of a vast cathedral cannot see the entire architecture at once. Yet the arches, towers, and windows still exist beyond their line of sight. This changes how we understand fear. Fear is anticipation projected forward along the line of your world line. It is the mind simulating possible coordinates not yet experienced. Hope is the same mechanism oriented toward favorable simulations. Both are real processes occurring in the present slice of awareness, but neither alters the structural fact that whatever does occur will become permanently embedded in space-time just as permanently as everything that has already happened. There is a temptation here to surrender to fatalism, to say if the structure is fixed, then effort is meaningless, but effort is part of the structure, deliberation is part of the structure, resistance is part of the structure. Your struggle to choose is not outside the geometry. It is one of its internal dynamics. The feeling of agency may itself be one of the essential features written into conscious world lines like yours from the inside. The decision feels open because the neural computation producing that decision is unfolding locally, even if from a hypothetical outside vantage. The entire computation is already laid out across the temporal dimension. Consider also how deeply connected you are to everything else, not metaphorically, but physically. The oxygen you inhale was exhaled by plants shaped by sunlight, emitted from nuclear fusion reactions in the core of a star that formed from collapsing hydrogen clouds. Scions of years ago, the calcium in your bones was forged in supernova explosions. The water in your cells may have cycled through oceans, clouds, glaciers, and countless living organisms before becoming part of you. There's no clear boundary where the universe stops and you begin. You are a temporary configuration of ancient components, participating in ongoing exchanges of energy and matter.